going. I'll let this simmer for a little bit while you guys check in. I last spoke to you about 5 hours ago. Our first live stream, we kind of touched base on our last minute bets for tonight's card in Tokyo. My tonight, you guys are going to go to bed in North America and then wake up early to watch that card. Brian Norman Jr. versus Jin Sasaki. In this video, I'm going to wait a couple minutes before I get into it. I'm going to go over in detail my long parlay, and we'll go over questions from there. And guys, there's also a lot of breaking news happening in boxing at the moment. Since we last spoke earlier this morning, Jaron Ennis, we knew it was only a matter of time, officially announced his move to 154. What's up, GOAT, in the house? And we knew it was going to happen. It was only a matter of time. He knew it was going to happen. And if you want to check that interview, DJ's in the house. Jesus in the house. What's up, guys? If you want to check from the fighter's mouth himself, YSN Sports Network on YouTube. It's a channel out of Philly. A lot of Philadelphia-based boxing content. Just raw. The dude, I think he's probably a coach there. Just walks around with his phone, interviews fighters. So, yeah, Ennis, that's the biggest breaking news. Ennis is moving to 54 and vacating his 2 belts. So, in other breaking news, and you guys know how I feel about this, it looks like Rolly Romero is going to be elevated by the WBA to full champion, which will make him a 2-division world champion. Talk about a guy who I feel has overachieved, and that's the best compliment I could give a fighter, to overachieve in his career. When you think about his path, his dad was a boxer, kind of late into boxing. What's up, PJ? And huge underdog against Garcia. Before that Ryan Garcia fight, people really didn't take him that serious. Everyone said all he could do was have that, he could throw the left hook. And, mate, Rolly Romero. Exactly. So the IBF is the one that Lewis Crocker, Donovan, and Crocker is a good. That's a fight that should happen. And I'm seeing in a lot of these boxing blogs that people are kind of salty at the fact that Rolly would be elevated. He is the regular champ, and people were thinking, I know Giasov's name has been thrown around because Giasov is the #1 contender, meaning that Rolly should have to fight Giasov first before he's elevated. Jin Sasaki only fought Japan fighters. Yeah, in my breakdown, back to Norman Jr. and Sasaki, I talked about that. Opposition matters in the fight game, especially at the world-class level. Guys, did you watch the weigh-in? We didn't get to talk about it on the first live stream. Did you guys get to see Brian Norman Jr. and Sasaki? I know a lot of you guys are making sort of it known in the translated interview. Sasaki said he felt like he was at 80%. I don't know how much. I don't know if something got lost in translation, but I've never heard a fighter say that. But that's what it was translated to. He was asked, how are you feeling going into this fight? He said, I feel about 80%. So that was an interesting comment from a fighter who's about to fight for a world title. I know some people were kind of blowing that out of proportion. But, yeah, the Jaron Ennis, big news. The Rolly Romero, probably going to be elevated soon. Jaime Munguia, B sample, came back positive for exogenous testosterone. So, he released another statement, and his most recent actions on social media is him hitting the heavy bag. Business as usual. We'll start taking some questions. Kyle, I don't know if you've seen True Sports School. He's there in Japan. He's a fan of Japanese boxing. He thinks Norman stops him in 7. Somewhere in there, I'm all in on the Brian Norman stoppage. And at this stage of the game, it's kind of like our 12th hour, as fight fans, we're like this, waiting for this Tokyo card. So we could overthink. We could overthink our bets, overanalyze our bets. I got to be honest with you guys. In my over-analysis right now, because I've been watching a lot of Francisco Rodriguez Jr., I predicted in my prediction, and I'm not going back on it, I predicted Galal Yafai to beat Francisco Rodriguez Jr., but I just rewatched the Nakatani fight, and I just rewatched the Ioka fight. and the stoppage when he got stopped against Chocolatito all the way back in 2012. Francisco Rodriguez is a dog. Really, really good fighter. You know, we'll see if he's lost a step. He's only 32, and it's a good step up for Yafai. But that's if you want to overthink a bet, if you've already put money on Yafai like I have, that's the one I'm going to be sweating the most going into the weekend, is that fight in Birmingham, England. I'm confident in tonight, guys, in Japan. I think we got money on the way. I like the Norman stoppage. I like Araneta on the money line. But, you know, we're about 6 minutes in, about 31 people. I'll wait a couple more minutes, and then I'm gonna take the mic, per se, and just go over my long parlay. Yafai goes the distance. Blessings, are you confident with Yafai? Araneta has been sparring with Kenshiro Taraji and based on training camp that Jim the W is written in the books. Did you know Araneta was a world title fight? When was Rodriguez's last fight? So the Araneta fight. Let's answer the Araneta question. Yeah, it's for the vacant. Yeah, the Araneta fight, it's for the IBF vacant world lightweight title. So yeah, I knew that, and I knew a little bit about. I didn't know a lot about Araneta. I knew a little bit about Araneta going into the fight, and I knew nothing about Simshri. So on Sunday night, like I told you guys, after Hitchens stopped Kambosos, I started doing my film study right after that fight, and I saw the resumes, and I was like, oh God, this. And then I saw the odds. So yeah. Specifically, is your channel? I watch. Oh, that's amazing, dude. Ranvar. Salute, brother. Ranvar, I'll support your channel. You support mine. Ranvar Litter said that because he tunes in, he started a boxing channel. I just say be consistent, Ranvar, and make sure it's your passion. What do you think the best bet is right now? I have Norman by knockout over 1 knockdowns and under. Oh, only GK. Let's talk about it. Under 10.5 rounds. Norman by stoppage. 1.5 knockdowns. I'll ride with it. I like that prop. I like it. Ride with it. I could definitely see over 1.5. I could definitely see over, and based on, and I think that's where our money is, guys, on tonight's fight. Is the knockdown props. Whether you like total knockdowns over and under. I am going to post. Yeah, I think that's smart money, Mike. I am going to post. So I have currently. All right, I'll share. Let me give you guys what I have. I already posted my 2-leg parlay. That's on the YouTube channel already. I posted it 2 days ago. So the first ticket I have Araneta. I got him at $2.10. And I got Norman by stoppage at $1.80. I parlayed that. That was paying $3, a little over $3. And I went heavy on that. That bet was made Sunday night. Another one I have. I have an over-under in the Araneta fight as well. So under 6 rounds. That's just me. I'm just now these are just me sprinkling some stuff on it. So under 6 rounds for the Araneta fight, I got it 10-1, which is like, I thought those odds were pretty crazy. More like 9-1 because both guys on their records have a lot of stoppages. And it's just something that, you know, makes the fight a little bit more interesting. Randall Light in the house. And then let me know if you guys want to go over what we're going to do now. About 10 minutes in, this is a good time. I'm going to now just give you my long parlay. Once I give this to you, you can either follow along, or if you have your betting apps, if you want to follow my lead, you could write them down. I'll also post this on my channel, so we can do this together. All right, this is my long money line parlay. Now, because I already have Araneta and Norman Jr. on my other parlay, I'm not putting Araneta Jr. or Norman on my long parlay, just to make that clear. So you guys can if you want. This is a separate ticket with no action for tonight. So this long parlay is starting tomorrow. I'm going the money line. Rubacava, Leonardo Ruiz, Stephanie Silva. That's a heads up from Blessings. Blessings is a subscriber here. gave us the insight on Stephanie Silva. She's $1.22. Kona Walker's $1.43. I didn't upload my film study. I broke both guys down. I really think those odds are probably going to be wider, but he's fighting Liam Taylor. That's 4. Peter McGrill, these are all money lines. That's 5. I'm also not putting Galal Yafai on this. So, guys, the videos that I broke down, analyzed, and predicted on my channel this week were Norman Jr., Galal Yafai, and Jahai Tucker. I'm putting those 3 on a separate one. So you're not going to hear, those 3 fights are not on this long parlay, if you ask. I like Damian Neba, Vito Melnicki, Callum Walsh. So Callum Walsh, and I'm kind of torn. So that's 8. Those are 8 right there. On my bookie, those 8 fights, the biggest odds are the Kona Walker, 143. It's paying 291. So 100 will get you your money back plus 191. So almost you know, a good return with the probably the most stressful fight will be that Kona Walker fight at $1.43. Now you guys can feel free to add any juice to that. I'm torn. You know, I might actually take, you know, the long parlays traditionally for me, I don't really want to call them safe, but they're usually a parlay that I'll build big and kind of avoid anything that was like over like a 150 or even money. But PJ asks about the Stevens fight, and that's the fight I was going to mention. If right now David Stevens is $1.72, he's fighting Kamakov, who's 225. Look at both of their resumes. I looked at both of their fights. I didn't have an opportunity to upload the film study, but I think David Stevens I like David Stevens in this fight. Even though Kamakov has an undefeated record, Stevens has a few losses. Where this fight's taking place at, it being a feature fight, I like Stevens. So if you were to add the Stevens fight on this long parlay, it takes the odds from a 297 to a $5. So that's what I'm saying. If you really, really like the Stevens fight and you're not going too heavy on it, those 9 fights pay plus $5. So I think, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to take David Stevens. I like that pick. I like Stevens to beat Pete Kamakov in terms of resumes, what they look like, career trajectory, where the fight's taking place, all that good stuff. So yeah, those are 9. I'm going to print that out. I'm going to bet on it right now. And if you missed any of those fighters, I'll post it on the page. Somebody asked about, did you ask about Diaz or Ruiz? Or Silva? Stephanie Silva. Peter only fought people with trash records. Yeah. And so that's one of the reasons. And people really aren't, you know, in terms of Stevens, he still has people believing him in terms of, you know, where his career's at. So I like his energy going into this fight. The question about Stephanie Silva, one of the subscribers on the channel during our first live stream today, she told us, Blessings told us that Silva's fighting near her hometown, fighting a fighter, an opponent who really doesn't have that strong of a resume. And based on that, she said she's a lock. Dimitri Pirog, what a great throwback. I've never met Jai Apatite. Man, Dimitri Pirog is a fighter that boxing has forgotten. I did a video once on Dimitri Pirog. Man, want to talk about an exciting fighter to watch, man. I don't want to call him a what if, but, you know, talk about a guy whose career ended too soon. If you don't know about Dimitri Pirog, guys, watch what he used to do in the ring. Whoever just mentioned him, I salute you. It's a guy's name who doesn't get brought up enough in the sport of boxing, but man, he was really good. Yes, JT, I just went over the long parlay, but I'll be posting it. I'll be posting it in the community section. I put by tonight, I'll have three parlays up there. A 2-leg. I have a method of victory prop bet that I'm doing as well, and then the 9-leg here. This one pays $5. $100 gets you your money back plus 400. So that's a nice return. Yeah, there's a couple cool little highlight tapes on Pirog. Dwayne getting extra money. I'm in another gym for the second workout of the night. Got to get it. Got to stay hungry. Yeah, I did some deadlifting earlier. had working my way up to my 1 rep max on my trap bar, doing a 5-5-5. Reese, I appreciate you guys. So we're about 15 minutes in. I'm going to let this ride for a bit. Who's my lock of the week? And great question. Let's get to that. So lock of the week. And this is... It's all good. And this isn't supposed to... I wasn't trying to be method of victory. Rocky, I'm not getting options on that. Beluda isn't really anything special. At that level, I just got the money line. My lock of the week, guys, and I'm riding and dying with this, and I have to on this because this is how I feel about this fight. It's the Brian Norman victory. I think, I've watched a lot of, if you guys watch Chris Algieri show, Algieri on Pro Box, Chris and Paulie, they're talking about Norman Jr. and Sasaki. Some other guys are talking about Norman Jr. and Sasaki. I went heavy on Norman Jr. That's my lock of the week. Norman Jr. by stoppage. Who you got, Beluda versus McGrill? McGrill to beat Beluda, guys, right? But if you get him by stoppage, it's $1.80. McGrill versus Beluda, guys, I mean, you got to realize that wasn't even the original. McGrill was supposed to headline, and then his opponent pulled out, and then secondary opponent, and then Galal gets upgraded. Yeah, feeder. Blessings. Feeder opponent for Silva. I'm rolling with you on that, Blessings. I'm rolling with you on that. It's on my parlay, and I'll post that soon. There are a lot of other fights, guys, but it's going to come down to, like, do you want to put some of these fights on your parlay? Is Brian Jr. the new Jiu-Jitsu fighter? How do you feel about the Galal fight? Can you give me a percentage of him winning? Okay, because I broke down the Galal fight, and it's on my channel. So to answer your question, if you want to watch my breakdown analysis and prediction, go on my channel and you'll see playlists. Click playlists and you'll see fight predictions. You'll see that edited, produced, uninterrupted breakdown, but I'll give it to you right now. The way I see it regarding both fighters, Galal versus Francisco Rodriguez Jr., it's not rocket science to say that Francisco Rodriguez Jr. has the advantage from who he's fought. They're both 32 years old, but Francisco Rodriguez Jr. has been a pro for over 12 years. So he's a different 32. His only losses, he's only been stopped once, over 10 years ago against Chocolatito. And some people even say that was a late stoppage or that was an early stoppage. But when you look at Chocolatito and how he fought back then, the legend, when he would have you wobbled and hurt, you weren't getting out of it. His barrage of punches, he was a nightmare in 2012, if you go back and watch the tape. So when you had a young Francisco Rodriguez stunned and hurt against Chocolatito, I think the ref saved him from more damage. That was the only time he got stopped. Throughout his career, he's fallen short a couple times. He fought Nakatani, lost the decision. Nakatani knocks everybody out. That was on Nakatani's way up to 118. I think they fought at 15. And then Ioka beat him. And that was a close decision. Some people say Ioka got close, some home cooking in that fight. So and he has over 45 pro fights. He's the underdog in this fight. He is a live dog, guys. If you like everything you see, and if you're one of these fight fans who like leaning on the veteran, leaning on the ring experience, leaning on the resume, take Francisco Rodriguez Jr. I just gave you reasons enough to take him, plus the money, $3.30. $100 gets you your money back, plus $2.30. And if you're willing to risk it, that in my opinion is the upset of the weekend on paper. Now I'm picking Galal Yafai to win that fight. Granted, this will only be his 10th pro fight. He's the same age. He won a gold medal in the Olympics, so we know what comes with that. We know about being a technician, high fight IQ. We know the Amis are different from the pros, and I really don't like carrying a guy's amateur record as too much, credence for, what they're going to do in a pro fight, but it should be mentioned in terms of how somebody operates being a gold medalist, okay? So we also just saw him coming off his best victory against Sonny Edwards. Now, Sonny Edwards at his best. Sonny Edwards at his best, world class. We know that. The version that Yafai fought, was that Sonny Edwards at his best? I don't think so. I mean, Sonny even said it. He quit on his stool, and he said even in the fight camp leading up to it, he just didn't want to be there anymore. He said he didn't have it anymore. So even though that's a great scalp on Yafai's resume, and Yafai, I'm not saying is looking past Francisco Rodriguez Jr., but you know what he's looking towards for those other champions at 112, potentially 115. Big fights. It's going to be a really tough fight. I think that Yafai is going to be sharper, quicker. I think he's going to have better, angles, and I think he's going to be able to win more rounds, and that's what I'm leaning on. I'm going to lean on the boxing IQ, his skill set, even though they're 32, even the energy side of things. Francisco has tread on his tires, but even that, look what we just saw with Nonito Donaire, fighting Andres Campos. And I thought that the age was going to, granted Donaire was 42, hadn't fought in 2 years. Last time we saw Donaire fight 2 years ago, he looked awful. And then last weekend in Buenos Aires, Argentina, Donaire turned back the clock and looked good enough to win. The fight was stopped due to a couple headbutts, so they went to the cards and he won a decision. But he was beating Campos all around the ring. So anyway, that's a long-winded answer, but I'm taking Yafai. I'm taking Galal Yafai. I know there's been in that long rant answering his question. I saw a lot of things about Araneta, questions about stoppages. I'm taking the under 6 rounds. I have Araneta on 2 parlays, 1 on the money line. I got him at 220, and the other one stoppage. I also thought Cuevas was tough and Pac Norman decision. I lost. Yeah. So, and Rocky, you weren't the only one, guys. If you guys look on YouTube and go, look on YouTube and find interviews before Brian Norman Jr. fought Cuevas. Find the fighter interviews from YSN on his channel, and Cuevas has links there, and you could hear a lot of people who were saying that Cuevas was going to beat Norman Jr. And they were saying Cuevas was the one with the heavier hands. They were saying Cuevas never been stopped. And then what happened? Norman Jr. stopped him. And so, like I said, with the guy like Norman Jr., he's already a world champion, but he's not fully polished yet. I don't think he's done learning. We see him adding skills to his tool belt. Certain champions you can't say the same. Certain fighters you can't say the same. We know what we're going to get when we see Ryan Garcia. We know what we're going to get when we see Devin Haney. We know what we're going to get when we see Rawley in terms of what they bring to a fight. Brian Norman Jr., on the other hand, even though of all those guys, he's actually an undefeated world champion. At 24 years old, he's the youngest world champion. He's the youngest male world champion. He's still growing and adding skills, and that's what I'm really high on from him. And he's I like that old school mentality he brings too, man. That I'll travel, I'll bring my belt overseas and fight you. I'll stay active and fight you. At 24 years old, it's not so common these days to see 24-year-olds with, what's his record, 27-0 with 20 knockouts? I mean, his first 13 fights happened in Mexico. Whatever you want to say, before he turned 18, he was 13-0. So his dad was prepping him as a 17-year-old, prepping him, getting all those fights in Mexico to be a pro. Cuevas seemed chinny, and I feel like he could have kept going. Rewatch that fight. No. He couldn't have kept going. No way. Brian Norman hurt him. If Norman thought he was going to lose, he wouldn't have taken the fight. Norman has been improving at 24. 100%. And that's something that we don't talk about. Boxing content creators don't talk about. A lot of you guys are, sending me different channels to watch. I've been watching other content creators, which I've never done before. And what I'm seeing is a lot of guys bash other fighters. A lot of guys talk trash about fighters. A lot of guys behind the microphone who don't fight are calling fighters bums. And it's kind of shocking for me to see how many sort of pages like this are out there on YouTube. And it's kind of like, holy shit. It was like I walked out into the wild and there's like fires burning and things falling out the sky. It's chaos out there because I don't really watch content. I just make content. But my point is, Brian Norman Jr., very high upside. Very high upside. And another fight that's flying under the radar that I broke down, no one's talking about. I don't know if this is because the fight fans don't feel that these guys aren't ever going to be world-class level, but the Jahai Tucker versus Truck Simpson fight, no one's talking about that. This is a fight between a 22-year-old and a 25-year-old. A southpaw versus an orthodox. Baltimore versus Brooklyn. There's this storyline. There's a lot of fun storylines on this fight nobody's talking about. Jahai Tucker, one loss. With Truck Simpson, two decision losses that kind of were awkward. Lost in overtime, was a draw, fought an extra round, lost that fight, and then another close decision. And these guys are both young. With Jahai Tucker, big upside, unorthodox, does a lot of flashy things in the ring. Went pro as a 17-year-old. Top Rank signed him. Hasn't had easy fights. He fought Nick Flaz when he was 19 or 20. So this is a fight that when I was scrolling through the boxing content creators, like I have 25,000 subs. I am so grateful for that because not too long ago I had 4,000, and I remember when I had 200, and I was still this was my whole thing. And I'm seeing channels with like 100,000 subs, 300,000 subs. No one's even talking about sort of these other fights, matchups between good fighters, and that's one of my points of difference. I try to cover as many fights as I can. It's a fun fight. I think Jahai wins that fight. I'm leaning on Jahai Tucker. The odds right now aren't too crazy. 131. 131. I have Jahai Tucker, Galal Yafai on a separate parlay that I'll post. When I look at the upside, Ranver, appreciate you. When I look at the upside of Truck Simpson, he's a southpaw, mate. His body work is nice. I'm not trying to compare him or give him or like hype him up. But when I watch his tape and watch how he fights and his physique and how he operates, southpaw, big body puncher, heavy on the front foot, doesn't have a lot of volume. Who's that sound like? He kind of reminds me of kind of Errol Spence a bit. Obviously doesn't have the explosivity, doesn't have that marketability, that sort of X factor that EJ had, that, I think it was Jim Lampley, that, one of Errol's first pro fights. He was, he had just gone from the Olympics. He said he had that $1 million smile. So, but there are things on Lorenzo Simpson, Truck Simpson, that if you bet on him, you should like. I think he's still figuring out where he belongs in what division as well. And he's been on record as of late talking about his mindset and his focus within the fight, which as a gambling man, when I hear things like that, I get really hesitant on betting on a fighter who talks about how sometimes in a fight they lose focus or sometimes in a fight they lack the concentration. Because we know in the fight game, one little mental lapse could cost you a round, which then could cost you a fight, which then could cost you millions. You have to be so switched on the entire time. LBC, Javi, yeah, he knows where I come from. But yeah, so I think if you want to see that breakdown in detail, it's on the channel. The Civic 215 tipping me, man. That's amazing. Let's get this money. Thanks for all the content. The Civic, I appreciate you guys, everybody who supports the channel. This is what we're all about. Look what we got. Look at the community we're creating. Boxing heads who are feeding off each other, asking questions. I learned just as much from you guys. So I really appreciate the support. And let's talk about, somebody asked about Japan. Do we have any more what's happening tonight? Because for me, the fights start, it's 12 o'clock Thursday here for me. It's 12 o'clock Thursday here for me. So I think it's Wednesday night right now where you guys are in America. The Japan card starts for me in 6-7 hours. Norman rounds 5 to 8 plus 2-6. Dude, I got Tucker. I think he's a better pro boxer. Yeah, I think I like Tucker's energy in the ring. The thing about Jahai that I want to see him work on, and this is just me being a coach and me being a bit, particular. One of the things with Jahai, and he's only 22, is he wastes a lot in the ring. If you guys watch how Josh Taylor used to fight, PBK, the British Olympian who was undefeated, reflex fighter, really fun fighter. He just knocked out Flavius Bea, really fun fighter. I bring him up all the time. I love covering that guy. I watch his training. This is a guy who trains to like Motown doo-wop music when he, does a lot of this sort of thing. Big fan of Roy Jones Jr. And Josh Taylor went to New York City, the only time he fought in America, and he was supposed to beat Ray Robinson, and he drew with Ray Robinson. And then the next fight, he fights David Evanesian, and Evanesian stopped him. And from that fight onwards, though, you watch Joshua Kelly's style get a little bit tighter. You know, you watch, you know, his most recent performance, the Troy Williamson fight. He was still flashy, but he was a little bit more defensively responsible. I want to see Jahai Tucker make adjustments like that without getting stopped or without getting knocked out. So we'll see. I'm having a hard time choosing who wins Tucker. He's only 3-1 favorite. Yeah, I like the money line, Rocky. Tucker fight isn't a complete lie, but I do think he wins. Yeah, it's not a gimme. I love this people from, yeah, dude, guys, we got an international base up in here for sure. The Philippines in the house, the States are in the house. We got Scotland, the UK. I'm from, you know, I live in Australia, but I'm obviously raised in America. Let's stay away from Tucker. Mac, I appreciate if you want to stay away from it, stay away from it. But, you know, I talked about that narrative, the storyline. It's a fascinating fight. All you got to do, Brooklyn, Baltimore. We know about the social media beef. You know, they used to be sparring partners. Oh, yeah. The Gold Coast is, if you're going to come to Australia, you visit the whole East Coast. Start at the Gold Coast, Brisbane, and then work your way down to Sydney. I don't want to bet a fighter who bets everyone to split a close fight. It's tough, guys. If you would have tuned into my live stream earlier, we talked about this on, because the odds this week better than last week and definitely better than the week before, is that we have an opportunity as bettors to win a lot of money, but you got to catch yourself with not being too greedy. You know, I think the most successful guys I know who make money, or girls I know who make money, or when I'm on a roll, is when I'm able to not add that extra fight to a parlay, or sit this fight out. See a fight that's like a 50-50, and, you know, rather than just rolling a dice, dropping X on it, don't bet on it. So whoever brought that up, it's a good point. A lot of that comes down to your instinct and your knowledge of the matchup, as well as keeping track of, you know, your wins and losses. You never want to be a person who are chasing losses, and then you get into this bad habit of betting on every single fight, and then you got to check yourself, because then you're using betting as a drug. It's the same dopamine response in our frontal lobe here, the same thing we get when, you know, whatever your vice is, your eyes open big, or, you know, somebody's about to, you know, when I was younger, you know, passing a blunt, drinking, partying. It's that same sort of dopamine spike internally. So if you find yourself trying to chase that, mate, take a step back. It's okay not to bet on fights. You don't have to bet on fights. I only started doing the betting segment of my channel because you guys asked for it. Go look at 6 months ago, guys, on my prediction videos. They weren't called predictions. Are you betting on David Steve on fights, Peter? Bricks, I think so. I think so. I think I like David Stevens in that fight. I know Stevens isn't perfect. He doesn't, you know, he's had a few losses. But his opponent, I don't like his opponent's resume. The Gold Coast is nice. It's very touristy. It is. Yeah, Brett's an Aussie. Real facts. Betting on fights is easy. You just got to have discipline. Yeah, it's important. The discipline's important. Knowing when to pull the trigger and knowing when to just kind of relax. I learned the hard way. Guys, I mean, before I moved to Australia, I lived in Las Vegas for 2 years. And I can tell you guys, the last blackjack hand I ever played, I used to be a blackjack player in Vegas. You know, not professionally, but I would play a lot and I'd win a lot of money. And I remember the very last time I ever played. What happened? Hottest chicks, Carlos always wanted to go. Chicago, the shy. I always say Chicago, at least when I lived in America. Chicago was my favorite city like 3 months out of the year, because we would go there for baseball tournaments. And I'd go to like Wrigley Field to see games, the old Comiskey Park. Frank Thomas was my favorite baseball player as a kid, him and Griffey. And so I'd go to a lot of White Sox, and I'm an Indians fan. So Cleveland, you know, we played against the White Sox in our division at the time. And during the summer, you would go, Chicago's a super fun city. And then I went one time in the winter. I was a freshman in college, and there was a radio station at the time. I think it was Q101, and it was like the night Blink 182 stole Christmas. I went with a bunch of girls, and we drive from University of Pittsburgh to Chicago. It was like 7 hours, and it was like negative 25 degrees. It was at the United Center. And I never went back. I never went back to Chicago. That was the last time I was in Chicago. It was the coldest I've ever been. Windy. It was miserable. But I have a contrast of when it was nice and when it was cold. All of that one I have knockdown just wasted if he knocks him out in one shot. Do you guys see? When's the last time we saw a main event world title fight end in the first round? You know what I'm saying? That's something we have to ask ourselves when you're making, when you're putting money on fights. You have to kind of go over these sort of scenarios in your head on past fights, whether it's a world title fight, whether it's a domestic level fight, what division the fight's in. Is it a heavyweight world title fight? Is it a heavyweight domestic level fight? My point is, when you're looking at the knockdown props, you really don't see very often at the highest level a fight ending in the first round. Yeah, okay. I went to Pitt for 2 years. Guys, wherever you are, everyone like the live stream, support the channel. Araneta, we're doing bullets now. Let's do Araneta's winning that fight. Callum Walsh this Saturday. Yeah, Rocky, I have Callum Walsh winning that fight. Cola, I have Araneta being Simsbury. I don't think Jim is a bum. I don't think Jin Sasaki's a bum. He's no bum. I got Norman stopping Sasaki, but you'll never hear me say Jin Sasaki's a bum. That dude he's bringing the Japanese warrior spirit. He's going to be there to fight. Hot take. Right now I like Kakashi. You guys don't agree with me. Right now that's not my prediction, but I think Anthony Kakashi is a good match. I think Raymond Ford is a good matchup for Kakashi. Is that 24 about? No, that's my last book. It's about daily habits. So I'm a strength and conditioning coach. I run my own strength and conditioning fitness business here in Sydney. So I write books about how to be how to live healthy. Okay. But there are boxers in that book. I interviewed, there's some fighters in that book. Let me see. Yeah, so I interviewed Chris Algieri in this book. So Algieri sat down with me in this. Algieri's in chapter 5. And then some entrepreneurs, maybe you guys have, it's on the, just Google my name and Google Johnny Stavko books or Johnny Stavko writer, and you'll see the books come up. Because I've written 2 of them. If you pick Araneta by stoppage 1 through 6 or 1, Rocky, on a fun prop, I took the fight not to go past the 6th. Araneta. I think Brian Norman Jr. knocks Sasaki out. I think so too. I like Norman Jr. Okay, N is just joining the live stream. So N, I broke down all right, David, it was blackjack. We got a lot of, let me answer 2 questions real quick. First, it's an easy one. Whoever just tuned in, you asked about my prediction for Goliath 5 versus Francisco Rodriguez. Go to my playlist and find fight predictions. I have the edited video of my prediction. To save you time, I'm picking Goliath 5. To break into a story, because I brought it up and somebody just called me on it, the last blackjack hand I ever played, and this was back, we were just talking about gambling. I was trying to give you advice on gambling. 2011 to 2012, I was living in Vegas, and I was bartending at Planet Hollywood on the Las Vegas Strip at a bar called the Strip House. It's still there, and it was above the casino, and after work, I would get off and play blackjack. So I'm on kind of a heater, and I'd win some, I'd lose some, but I'm at the point where I'm playing $300 hands. And for me as a bartender, I should not be playing $300 hands. And at the time of my life, I was drinking, so I'm boozed up, and I would always play at the Flamingo. So the Flamingo's no longer there. And I'm playing the Flamingo. I think it was a $25 table, and I'm playing $300 hands, and it's like 1 in the morning. Nobody's even there. It's like a Tuesday night, and my dealer is like a 70-year-old white dude with gray hair, and that in itself at the Flamingo, right? So he starts dealing. He shows me my first card. It's a 9. So I have a 9 showing, and then he turns over his first card. He has a 5 showing. So he has a 5, I have a 9. My next card is a 9. I split. So I split both 9s. So for me to split, I have to add another $300. So I have one hand, 9, 300. My second hand, 9, 300. This next one is another 9. So the split limits at the Flamingo, you were only allowed to split 3 times. So he gave me 3 nines. It was a 5-deck table. So I have 999, 300, 600, 900. So it's a $900 hand for me. And ridiculous. It's a $25 freaking table. I have $900 on the table. He's showing a 5, okay? My first 9, he drops a king, so I have a 19. My second 9, he drops an 8. I have a 17. So I have a 19, a 17, and then he drops another queen. 19, 17, 19, right? He has a 5 showing. The book will tell you that's a bust card, right? He turns over a king. So I have a 19, 17, 19. He's showing a 15. Guess what card he dropped? Guess what card he dropped? He dropped a 6. And I'm sitting there like, he dropped a freaking 6, dude. And 21. And I'm just sitting there like sick, dude. It's like 2 a.m. I'm drunk. I just worked, but I got no money because I gambled it. He's like looking at me all depressed. And I just walk out and just, dude, I'll never forget that. But I had the wherewithal in my own mind. Someone told me that was the last time I ever played blackjack. I never played after that. Never played after that. Oh, to this Deontay Wilder, to this day. To this day. But yeah, so I learned a lot through my losses. Back to boxing. Brandon, plus 120 points win, plus 350 for a stoppage win. I know, man. Super brutal. Blackjack is the worst. Guys, wherever you're tuning in, let's like the video. Loving these live feeds. It's fun talking to everybody. We got a lot of action coming up, guys. We got money. Also, I want to hear your opinion. Let's say you guys, the action you have tonight with Japan and you win. Are you the type of gamblers, do you keep it or do you roll it over to the weekend? Bro, I won 20K on my casino. Nice. A few times mine. Never had that type of money. It's still young, but you put it back in. You won 20 grand a couple times and put it back in. Oh, that hurts me. 20 grand. Somebody asked me recently, New York, Brooklyn, boxing fan, you have to be going for Jahai Tucker, right? If I win today, I'm immediately put it on Gala. Okay, nice. You have a system. The reason why I asked that question is, if you're taking gambling, betting on boxing seriously, and I'm siding with Gary from 3D Boxing. I'm on the same philosophy as Muscles, who's always on 3D's channel, about only betting on boxing. For the most part, I do sprinkle some on the UFC and then on the NCAA college football. But my advice, I talk about it all the time on the channel if you're new, if you win and your winnings could pay a bill, take it out. I'm talking if it could pay your cell phone bill, if it could pay your electric bill, if it could pay rent, if it could pay car, have perimeters, because if you don't, you'll win 20 grand and just put it right back in. You know what I'm saying? So like even if it's like 400, dude, take 300 out, keep 100 in. That sort of thing. My point is, it doesn't have to be my system, but create systems for your own self so you have boundaries, and then you kind of create sort of like a routine around taking it out, not always losing it, winning some, starting over. Also, one of my routines, if I take out more than 2,000, so one of the things I like doing on my sports bet account, not at the casino, let's say I hit and I win anything over 2,000. 2,000, 4,000, 5,000, I always take it out and then I'll deposit $100 after the takeout and I'll start from $100. So that's one of my systems. Like a couple weeks ago, I won like 7 grand. Take the 7 grand out of my account, goes out of my sports betting account, goes straight to my bank account in like 24 hours, and then I'll immediately deduct $100 back into the betting account, and then I'll start over like that. And my mindset is deduct. All right, let's rebuild. Let's rebuild. And I write everything down. I document my wins and losses. And so that, over time, it's kind of a system that's worked for me. Yeah, gambling will teach you. It'll also, what I'm learning through this journey for me on YouTube with my boxing channel is that the smartest gamblers I've met so far are the boxing bettors. I didn't even know it was a thing. Do you think the Aaron Netta fight will be live? Mac, somebody just sent me a crack stream. You can win something with $100, PJ. Come on now. You crazy. I always win. I'm talking, you definitely could win something with 100. I mean, that's a bad beat. It'll be on ESPN Plus. Combat sports gives me the best consistency of chances. Yep. If you pick Araneta stoppage 1 to 6, I think Araneta stoppage. I like 1 through 6. I would delete my entire work check. Fuck. See, I don't know how old you guys are. I don't know what the age in here is. You don't have to tell me, but I'm 43. So at 43 years old, I've already done the whole lost my check part of my life. So yeah, you got to do 38. Yeah, but if you're in your 20s, you got to kind of maneuver those waters. People are like, "Oh, I would do anything to be in my 20s again." I wouldn't. My 20s were freaking chaotic, dude. I was a nightmare in my 20s. I was a lunatic. I was just talking to my best friend who lives in Columbus, and we like snuck. I had to sneak through my 20s without getting, knock on wood, didn't get arrested, didn't get hurt, didn't hurt anybody, didn't have any like life altering moments. But in your 20s, dude, the 20s are filled with these moments where they could be life altering. And like our teen years aren't really prepping us for that. So anyway, by 43, you like to have things figured out a bit. Johnny, if you had a specific rounds for Norman Sasaki, what round would they be? I actually, yeah, I'm a diehard Blink fan. Some of you guys don't know about me. All the way back to Cheshire Cat. Yeah. So I used to be a diehard rap fan, hip hop, which I still am. But when Pac died, I'll never forget. You know, I had 2 older sisters put me on to like hip hop music. We talk about that on the channel all the time. You know, I grew up in Northeast Ohio, listening to Bone Thugs and Harmony, Wu-Tang Clan. I was a big Jada Kiss fan, but like DMX, Pac, Biggie. And then I went through this law, and I'll never forget, I was 13 years old, and a 15-year-old gave me, and I had never listened to white music before. In Youngstown, Ohio, I never listened to he gave me a Blink-182 CD. It was the Cheshire Cat album. It was the blue one with a wheelchair on it. Changed my whole life. So I have this weird split of my library of music. Hip hop, rap, R&B too. So I'm a big R&B guy. Drew Hill, Jodeci, Boyz II Men, Shy. I grew up with baby making music. You know, Youngstown, Ohio is only a few hours away from Motown. So my dad raised me on like the Temptations, the Four Tops, Benny King, the Jackson 5, and then but you know, a little bit of a side story. Do you listen to Tame Impala? I don't know who that is. We use the same system. I keep my winnings when it's big already. Guys, we're up to 85 on the live stream. Nice. Let's like this video, guys. Brett in the house, 57 and still running amok. Brett is what Aussies would call a larrikin. One of my favorite words that I learned when I moved to Australia is an adjective that Aussies use for sort of like a cowboy. And it's called a larrikin. So if you're like a wild boy, or like a wild lifestyle, or somebody who likes to get on it, they call you a larrikin. Pretty cool word. One of my favorite words I learned here. So Brett, my friend at 57, keep getting it on. We support that. I'm from Ohio as well. Didn't see much film on Simsbury. Does he pressure? Yes, Trey. Pressures, not a lot of film on him. Strength of schedule is awful. I think he's going to be a class below. Temple from Perth. I didn't know that. I'll check him out. You and Kelly Pavlik. Yeah, so I grew up with Kelly Pavlik. I don't want to drive that point home because those who know me, like Kelly's a close mate of mine. We grew up on the same team. We played youth sports together. We played in the Little League World Series tournaments together from the time we were I've known Kelly since I was 7 years old. I grew up with Kelly. He was my Little League catcher. I was our pitcher and shortstop. And we traveled all through Youngstown, Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, Cleveland, Western Pennsylvania, Upper New York, winning Little League tournaments when we were 12. So yeah, Kelly's a good friend of mine. That's actually Kelly on that magazine behind me. I was at the Jermaine Taylor fight in the 4th row, the first one in Atlantic City. I was there the night he knocked out Max Zertuche in Anaheim at Disneyland, and the Edson Miranda fight. So yeah, Kelly's a good mate of mine. But Kelly likes metal. I didn't listen to, I like kind of pop punk rock, skater rock. Kelly would listen to like the he would walk out to you know, kind of the heavier guitars, long hair sort of music. I wasn't into that. I mean, Kelly was famous for, I think, walking out to Five Finger Death Punch. With Johnny and Gary, our banks should be up. Let's go. Let's get up. Yeah, Korn. Rocky. Yeah, he would walk out to Korn. I wasn't into Corn. No, nothing against Corn. It's just wasn't my style. I listen to a lot of reggae too. I'm more of a chill type of dude. It is growing. I'm more of a chill dude with all the you won't see me like I don't like anything too angry. I come from like I don't want to say the hippie background, but yeah, I like reggae music. I like I'm a romantic. I like slow dancing, all that good stuff. Kelly's entrance, Corn, yeah, new metal for sure. Pressure fighters make me well. Don't watch the Brian Norman Jr. versus Sasaki fight then. Kelly used to do a podcast with my buddy James Dominguez called The Punchline. They don't do it anymore. Brother Lynch Hung, one of my favorite records, by the way. They don't do it anymore. I've had Kelly on my channel a couple times. Go to my playlist if you want to right now. Go to playlist and find podcasts with important people, and you'll see Kelly on there. We did it through Zoom because I live here. He lives in Youngstown. But yeah, Kelly had that podcast called The Punchline with James Dominguez. Thanks, dude. Jamming them now. Like, always looking for new music. Oh, yeah. Be scared, Australia. Y'all got monsters. Nah. I love it in Australia. The monsters are in America, mate. The monsters are in America. We come from the land of savages, dude. America. Just placed my bet on Norman. I love under 8.5. Too late. 258. Let's go, Jay. I got that fight 50-50. When will your live stream start for Japan card? Guys, I'm trying to find that Japan card and even get the option. I have to give a shout out to one of our members here emailed me one of these links. So if that works, Araneta fights at 6 o'clock, guys. Araneta fights in 5.5 hours. But I also have a life outside of this. So tonight, Thursday night, I always go to dinner with my girlfriend. It's obvious if you're about to fight or hurt somebody you need. I don't think you do, though, Rocky. Ranvar, email me. My email's on the link. Yeah, Australia don't got insects. They got Pokemon, spiders the size of a dog. Yeah, the roaches here are crazy. Yeah, you guys would be shocked at the roaches here. Because coming from America, when you hear the term cockroaches, our minds in America instantly go to dirty, uncleanly house, trash, poverty, overpopulation, But here in Australia, cockroaches, the roaches are part of the environment. And bro, they're like this big. So that takes a little, and they fly. That takes a little while to get used to. And you'll see them everywhere. Not that people made the animals. I know. I was just kidding, Marcel. The more you get, if you know me personally, man, I live my life through humor. And Rocky was talking about to fight, you have to listen to heavy metal music. I actually disagree, man. My dad growing up, I don't know if it's because my dad, the way he was a big 6'4" Czechoslovakian dude, football player. But, I grew up listening to like Tina Turner, Diana Ross. Before my American football games, I played quarterback and outside linebacker. I played high-level baseball. I boxed. I'd always listen to slow music. Like, I like listening to R&B. If I'm about to fight, I'll listen to R&B. I'll listen to, my favorite would be, Drew Hill, the Enter the Drew album, with, These Are the Times. Probably one of my all-time favorite songs from that era. That video, These Are the Times, to this day is my favorite video. When Cisco dressed up as the man with the iron mask, and they were mimicking the Hollywood movie. And Woody, dude, Drew Hill gets slept on. Come on, Casey and JoJo. I'll listen to Baby making music before I fight. It puts me. I like that mindset because, I think I operate better at all facets of my life when I'm just chill and relaxed. That thong. No, that was Cisco's. That was his solo stuff, which had some decent songs on it. But, and the album before These Are the Times with 5 Steps. Come on now. We were 5 steps from eternity. That's my favorite genre. Dude, we listen to the same. I think it's our era. I think if you're in your early 40s, late 30s, early 40s, we were kind of blessed with a canopy of just different artists, different movies, different actors, different athletes. And I don't remember my life being divisive at all. I was grateful for this. I wasn't raised around people at any level of my life to where it was never about anything other than if you were, a good person, good at sports, if you were competing, whatever you like. There wasn't a lot, like, the world is very divisive now, but I don't want to get too political. But yeah, Johnny going hard. Yeah, my playlist is up. My music's all over the shop, man. If you go to my Instagram right now, funny enough, go to my Instagram. The last video I posted on my story, I'm shadowboxing to Maurice Williams. Maurice Williams had a doo-wop band in the 1950s, and he's the one who wrote the song Stay Just a Little Bit Longer. That one. So I love doo-wop music too. But guys, we're approaching an hour. I got to get ready. We got money to make. So if I get that stream, I'm going to be doing a live stream for the Tokyo card. You guys are going to be in bed. But Araneta fights in 4 hours. Brian Norman Jr., though, doesn't fight for like 8 hours. Stress-free, skeezy. I built a lifestyle around, I train, drink water. I have a sauna. I do saunas every day. I power lift 5 days a week. I live a life based off of, them crack streams are in the house. The meth streams. Are they really called meth streams? Somebody emailed me one. But guys, I got to run. I thank everybody who tipped, who supported the channel. Thank you for liking this video. We're an hour in. You guys who have questions on my breakdowns of the Norman Jr. fight, the Galal